What happens when truth stands alone and lies stand together? What happens when the loudest voices are wrong? What if faith is mocked, outnumbered, and silenced? What if God seems quiet while false gods dominate culture? And what if, in one unforgettable moment, God answers with fire? This is not just a story about power, it is a story about choice, about obedience, about faith passed from one generation to another. This is the story of Elijah, the prophets of Baal, and the fire that would never die. Israel had not fallen overnight. It drifted, slowly, quietly, comfortably. God had brought them out of slavery. He fed them in the wilderness. He gave them land. But gratitude faded. Memory weakened. Obedience felt optional. They still spoke God's name, but they no longer trusted his voice. Israel was ruled by King Ahab. Ahab was not bold in evil. He was weak in conviction. He married Jezebel, a princess devoted to Baal. Jezebel did not blend in. She replaced. Altars to Baal rose across Israel. Idols stood where God's name once reigned. The prophets of the Lord were hunted. Some were killed. Some hid. Some vanished into silence. And the people watched. Israel tried to balance faith. God for tradition. Baal for prosperity. God for history. Baal for reign. God for words. Baal for results. But God does not share glory, and so the sky closed. Rain stopped falling. Days passed. Weeks passed. Months passed. Years passed. Fields cracked. Rivers shrank. Wells emptied. Livestock collapsed. Children cried for water. Hope dried up. This was not cruelty. It was mercy, a warning loud enough to wake a sleeping nation. Into this drought stepped Elijah. No title, no trumpet, no announcement. He stood before Ahab and said, "As the Lord lives, there will be no rain, except by my word." And then he was gone. God sent Elijah away, to a hidden stream, to the sound of ravens' wings. Bread arrived from nowhere. Water flowed from rocks. When the stream dried, God sent Elijah again, to a widow, with nothing left. And God multiplied the little she had. While Baal failed publicly, God worked quietly. If this story is speaking to your heart, take a moment to support this channel. These videos take time and prayer and effort to create. Your subscription helps us continue sharing powerful stories like this. Subscribe, like, and share. Elijah stood alone. He watched Israel suffer. He watched idols remain. Faith is hardest when obedience feels unseen. But God had not forgotten his prophet. Then God spoke, "Go, present yourself to Ahab." When Ahab saw Elijah, anger flared. "Is that you, troubler of Israel?" Elijah answered calmly, "I have not troubled Israel. You have, by abandoning the Lord." And then Elijah spoke words that would echo through history. Gather all Israel, bring the prophets of Baal. Mount Carmel became the stage. The people came, the prophets gathered, the sky waited. Elijah faced the crowd. How long will you waver between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. If Baal is God, follow him. Silence answered. 2 altars, 2 sacrifices, no fire. The God who answers by fire, he is God. The people agreed. Morning came. They shouted, they danced, they begged. "O Baal, answer us!" Hours passed. Nothing. Elijah spoke again. "Shout louder. Perhaps he is asleep." They screamed. They cut themselves. Blood fell on the stones. Still, no fire. Still, silence. Elijah called the people closer. He rebuilt the altar, stone by stone. 12 stones, 1 for each tribe. A reminder, God had not abandoned them. Water poured once, twice, 3 times. The sacrifice was drenched, the wood soaked, the stones darkened, the trench overflowed. This would be God or nothing. Elijah stepped forward. He did not run, he did not shout, he did not perform. He simply prayed. No spectacle, no drama, no noise. Answer me, Lord, answer me, so these people may know that you are God, and that you are turning their hearts back. The air held its breath. The mountain waited. The people leaned forward. Then fire fell. Fire exploded from the sky. It struck the altar. It swallowed the sacrifice. It devoured the wood. It melted the stones. It drank the water. It licked the dust. The people fell face down. Their pride shattered. Their excuses burned away. Their hearts awakened. The Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God. Smoke drifted upward. Ash settled on stone. Silence returned to Carmel. Elijah bowed again. He prayed once more. Looked toward the sea. A servant climbed higher. He scanned the horizon. He saw nothing. Elijah said, "Go again." Once, twice, 3 times, 4, 5, 6. On the 7th time, the servant whispered, "I see a cloud, as small as a man's hand." Elijah stood. "Go tell the king, rain is coming." The sky darkened. The wind stirred. Thunder rolled. Rain began to fall. At first, soft, gentle, then heavy, then flooding. Dry ground drank again. Seeds breathed again. Hope returned to Israel. But victory does not cancel fear. Jezebel heard. Her anger burned. She sent a message. "By tomorrow, you will be dead." And suddenly, Elijah ran. He did not argue. He did not pray. He fled into the wilderness. Under a lonely tree, he collapsed. "I have had enough, Lord." Even fire-calling prophets grow tired, grow afraid, grow empty. God did not shout, not in wind, not in earthquake, not in fire. but in a gentle whisper, "Elijah, you are not alone." The silence wrapped around him, not empty, not cold, but alive. God did not rush Elijah. He did not accuse him. He did not shame him. He restored him. "What are you doing here, Elijah?" Elijah answered, "I have been very zealous for the Lord. The people have rejected your covenant. They have torn down your altars. They have killed your prophets. And I alone am left. And now they seek my life." Then God said, "Go out and stand on the mountain before me." A wind tore through the cliffs, so strong it split rocks. But the Lord was not in the wind. The ground shook, mountains groaned, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. Fire swept across the stones, heat rolled through the cave, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper, not loud, not dramatic, not terrifying, but close. "Elijah, lift your eyes. You are not finished." God gave him direction again, not escape, but assignment. "Go, return by the way you came, anoint kings, and anoint Elisha to carry the work forward." God was not ending Elijah's story. He was multiplying it. Elijah rose from the cave, strength returning to his bones, purpose steadying his breath. He walked again, not running now, but sent. Down in the valley, oxen pulled through soil, dust lifted in gold light. There stood Elisha, hands on the plow, eyes on the field. Elijah walked past him and placed his mantle on his shoulders. Elisha felt the weight, not of cloth, but of calling. He left the oxen, left the fields, left the past. The fire did not stop with Elijah. It moved forward from one life into another. Elijah taught. Elisha watched. Steps became patterns. Faith became inheritance. And one day, the sky shifted. The wind circled. A whirlwind descended. Fire wrapped the air. Heaven opened. Elijah was lifted, not dying, but carried. And the mantle fell to the ground. The work did not end. It transferred. It multiplied. God still answers by fire, but he also answers by faith passed forward. Truth does not die. With one voice, it multiplies. When the world bows to Baal, God still looks for Elijahs. And when Elijahs grow weary, God raises successors. The fire of God never ends. If this story take time and prayer and effort to create, your subscription helps us continue sharing powerful stories like this. Subscribe, like, and share. spoke with one voice, one language, one purpose. But that purpose slowly replaced God. What if unity became pride and ambition became rebellion? What if people believed they no longer needed God, only themselves? And what if, in His mercy, God stepped in before humanity destroyed itself? This is the story of the Tower of Babel. Long after the great flood had covered the earth, long after Noah and his family stepped onto dry ground, humanity began again. God had given a clear command: be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. The people obeyed at first. Families grew, children were born, communities formed, and the world slowly filled with life again. At that time, the whole earth shared one language, one way of speaking, one voice of understanding. There were no borders of speech, no translators, no misunderstandings. Every word carried the same meaning to every ear. As people increased, they began to travel. They moved eastward, searching for fertile land, open space, and opportunity. Eventually, they came upon a wide plain, flat, open, and rich. It was a perfect place to settle, and there they stopped. They did not ask God where to go. They did not seek His direction. They simply decided this would be home. As the people settled, a new idea began to form. Someone spoke, then another. Soon, the voices grew louder. Let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly. They discovered new technology. They learned to shape clay into stone. They used tar instead of mortar. Human innovation was rising, and with it, human confidence. Then came the defining words. Come, let us build ourselves a city, a place of permanence, a place of security, and let us build a tower with its top reaching the heavens. Why build such a tower? They answered honestly, so that we may make a name for ourselves and not be scattered over the face of the earth. This was not about shelter. This was not about survival. This was about legacy without God, unity without obedience, fame without humility. They did not want to fill the earth. They wanted to rule it. They did not want God's name to be great. They wanted their own. Brick by brick, their pride rose higher. The city grew rapidly. Voices echoed with shared purpose. Hands worked in perfect coordination. Language flowed effortlessly. Humanity had never been more united. But unity alone does not make something righteous. They were united against God's command, and heaven was watching. Then the story shifts, not because humanity reached heaven, but because God came down. The Lord came down to see the city and the tower that the people were building. This is not weakness. This is mercy. God saw not just the tower, but the hearts behind it. He saw what unchecked pride would become. They are one people, speaking one language. This is only the beginning of what they will do. Nothing they plan will be impossible for them. God did not destroy the tower. He did not send fire. He did not flood the land. Instead, He did something far more gentle and far more powerful. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so they will not understand one another. In an instant, words lost meaning. Familiar sounds became confusion. A worker spoke, and his companion stared blankly. Instructions failed. Shouts turned into arguments. Unity fractured. One language became many. The same mouths that once spoke in harmony now spoke in division, not out of hatred, but misunderstanding. Fear spread. The work stopped. The tower stood unfinished. Unable to communicate, the people separated. Families grouped by language. Communities moved apart. They traveled in different directions: north, south, east, and west. The city was left behind. And from that moment, the earth was filled just as God intended. They called the place Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. The Tower of Babel is not a story about language. It is a story about pride. It teaches us that unity without God leads to collapse, that ambition without obedience leads to confusion. God was not threatened by the tower. He was protecting humanity from itself. Left unchecked, pride would have destroyed them. Babel did not end in ancient history. Its spirit still exists. Whenever humanity says, "We can do this without God," Babel rises again. When success replaces humility, when progress replaces obedience, when identity replaces worship, the tower is being rebuilt. Centuries later, God would bring unity again, not through bricks, but through hearts, not through a tower reaching heaven, but through heaven reaching earth. On the day of Pentecost, the Holy Spirit descended, and suddenly, people spoke in different languages, yet understood one message. Not confusion, but clarity. Not pride, but praise. God reversed Babel, not by removing language, but by filling it with His Spirit. God is not against unity. He is against pride. He is not against greatness. He is against self-glory. True greatness comes from obedience. True unity comes from God. When we build our lives on Him, we are not scattered. We are gathered. You don't need to make your own name great. God already knows your name. And when your plans rise too high, His mercy will gently bring you back. If this story is speaking to your heart, take a moment to support this channel. These videos take time and prayer and effort to create. Your subscription helps us continue sharing powerful stories.